Downtown Decatur, it's the Faber Files. Hello, I'm your host, Bill Faber. Because democracy demands debate, we present this program, a program of community interests and issues. Nowhere else on TV, radio, or newspaper are the issues and interests covered in such in-depth way as we do here on the Faber Files on Public Access TV. Tonight's program is a debate between Senator Kyle McCarter and challenger Tim Dudley for the Illinois Senate seat in Springfield. The debate was held at the Decatur Technical Academy. Tonight, let's listen together as citizens to help us decide what candidate to vote for in the November election. It's a stimulating debate. I hope you enjoy part one.
Welcome to Democracy in Action. This is a political debate for the 51st seat in the Illinois State Senate. I'm Tara Nickerson from Talk 101. I'm going to be the moderator for today's debate. Before the candidates join us, I want to introduce our panelists. Representing the Decatur Area Technical Academy is Senior Emily Massey. Emily has been the executive producer of the political debates for Channel 22 News. From Talk 101, we have morning show host and producer Scott Busboom. Scott Busboom, 2008 IBA Silver Dome Award nominated play-by-play voice of the Eisenhower Panthers and MacArthur Generals. Also, we have representing Richland Community College, Chris Pullock, Phi Beta Lambda President and Director of Advertising for the Richland Community College Communicator. We want to thank our panelists and our studio audience for taking the time to be here for this important event as we face these critical November elections. Now I'd like to introduce you to your candidates. Republican Senator Kyle McCarter is the incumbent. He's from Lebanon, Illinois, where he operates a small business. He's also a former member of the O'Fallon Chamber of Commerce Board. He currently serves on the Commerce Committee, the Agriculture and Conservation Committee, the Education Committee, and also the Subcommittee on Charter Schools. He's challenged in this race by Democrat and Macon County Board member Tim Dudley. Mr. Dudley is a native of Dalton City. He's worked at Decatur companies Mueller and Staley and is a licensed realtor. He has served on the Richland Community College Board of Trustees and the Macon County Board. There, he is chairman of the Education, Environment, Health, and Welfare Committee. Here are the guidelines for today's debate. Our panelists are going to take turns asking questions. Each candidate will have 1 minute to answer each question. Both candidates will have the opportunity to respond to the question regardless of whether or not the question was originally directed toward them. After approximately 30 minutes, members of the audience are going to have the opportunity to ask questions about issues not addressed previously in this debate. Following those audience questions, we're going to take a quick break. Then each candidate will be given 3 minutes to make a closing statement. Tim Dudley is going to be answering our first question. That'll be posed by Emily. And then Senator McCarter, you'll have the opportunity to respond. You'll each have 1 minute. Go right ahead.
Thank you. It's an honor to be here at the Decatur Technical Academy this afternoon.
Could you please explain what you see as the job description for the state senator and explain how much influence the position holds in the state government?
Well, I think the job description for the state senator should be one of a person that's basically like all of you out there. A senator should be a reflection of you and someone that's going to do what's right by the people. I think a lot of people want to credit us with being able to create jobs, but we really don't do that in the Senate. What we do is we create the environment and the process and what it takes to create an environment that we can bring businesses to Illinois. And I think that's our job as a senator, is to be willing to work with business and labor and other entities to do what's right to bring these jobs to Illinois and not have them outsourced to other countries like China and other places. I think that's our responsibility as a senator. Thank you.
Well, the responsibility as senator is simply one of leadership. It's that of stepping up and fighting for the people that are in your district, for the things that are right for this state, the things that are going to translate into jobs for them, translate into the keeping their kids from having to move out of this state because of the business climate that we create. It's about leading on issues that make a difference, not just talking, but keeping our families here in Illinois, bringing back jobs to Illinois. And you can't just talk about it. You've got to change the environment to make Illinois a business-friendly state. I understand that. I'm an employer in a manufacturing company. We manufacture parts in Lebanon that we ship all over the world. So I know what it's going to take to put people back to work in this state. And it's about leading on those issues, which are most critical today.
Mr. Busboom?
My question is for Mr. Dudley. Mr. Dudley, if elected, will you push to change the current state Senate leadership? And if not, why would you return the current leadership to power given the absolute fact that they have failed to deliver the goods to schools, servants, agencies, businesses, and our communities in Illinois?
Scott, thanks for the question. First of all, I want to say that the reason I'm running is because I don't agree with everything that's going on with Springfield, obviously. If I did, I wouldn't be running. With that said, I think that we definitely need someone from downstate Illinois that's in touch with the people here. So many times we feel like things are run from Chicago and that the downstaters don't have a chance. As an elected senator from this district, I would push for a downstate Senate leader.
Senator McCarter, you have the opportunity to respond to that question as well.
Well, you know, as much as my opponent would love to tell you he's going to be independent, being independent in the middle of the Chicago Democrat machine is not something anyone is proven to be able to do. And we have to remember, what has this leadership done in the last 8 years? Where has it gotten us? What has it done for your family? Whose job has it given you? I mean, has it given you a job? Has it given your family a job? This leadership in the last 8 years, has translated into, in fact, in the last 10 years, 740,000 people leaving this state. Now, there's a reason for that. We cannot afford any longer the Democrat leadership, and I can only expect my opponent to follow right in line with their policies and their legislation.
Eric?
Gentlemen, the 2010 election year has many key issues. One of the most notable issues, however, seems to be how heavily drawn the party lines have become. My question is, if a key piece of legislature comes into the Senate, will you vote along party lines, as many of your colleagues do, or will you vote in the best interest of the state? Moreover, how do you intend on making this distinction?
Senator McCarter, we'll give you the opportunity to answer that first.
Okay. Well, you know, I've had situations like this in the Senate already. In fact, one vote came up, and I got a call from behind one of the staffers, and they said, "McCarter, what are you doing?" And I said, "What are you talking about?" They said, "You were the only Republican on that vote." They said, "Did you make a mistake?" I said, "No, I didn't make a mistake. I did what I thought needed to be done." And you know, the great thing about running a business and having an income like I do, and keeping my manufacturing business going while I serve as senator, I've got a real job. I do this to serve people, and I can do exactly what's right for the people in my district, even if my party doesn't agree.
Mr. Dudley?
Part of the problem in Springfield right now is obviously that both parties are dug in and not willing to work with each other. I think my background is, you know, being from around here and not from Chicago, and growing up in this area, going to school here, educating my kids here, working in small business. I'm a real estate agent here in Decatur. I've worked in factories and I've worked in large business. I think that gives me what it takes to bring business and labor together to get things done. Now, you know, my opponent wants to say that he can take votes against whatever, and he claims to be the guy of small business. But even when labor and business came together and worked to bring the $31 billion capital bill to Illinois that we hadn't had in 10 years, he voted against the funding for it. even though the state chamber, or the Decatur Chamber of Commerce and Labor were both for it. When they were working together for once to get something done, that's what happened.
Emily?
Senator McCarter, you are on the subcommittee on charter schools. This week, Time Magazine reports that only 1 in 7 current charter schools outperforms public schools. Do you believe that charter schools are needed to improve education?
I support charter schools, and I voted for charter schools in the Senate. The bill called for the lowest performing 10% of Chicago schools to have the opportunity to go out of an environment that had repeatedly, year after year after year, failed them. It had failed them. I believed it was important to give those kids a chance. When you have graduation rates in the teens, that's uncalled for. That is uncalled for, and you've got to give those kids a chance. You know, there was actually a cost savings to the state. The Catholic schools in the area had agreed to educate these kids for $3,200 a year. Less, much less than what we pay, the state pays. You've got to give those kids a chance, and then you've got to give charter schools and vouchers a chance.
Mr. Dudley?
Obviously, we want our children to be our #1 priority, without a doubt. The only problem I have with vouchers and charter schools, I mean, while they, you know, some of the things they do is good, schools only hold so many people. If you've got a school that holds 1,000, you've got 2,500 kids wanting to come into that school, you're allowed to pick and choose who comes to that school. And I don't see anything fair about that. Obviously, they're going to perform when they can pick from the cream of the crop. But what happens to the 1,500 that can't get into that charter school or can't get that voucher? That's what I worry about. That's what I call a kid that's left behind. And we have to do better in education. And we've got legislators wanting to cut 10% across the board, and that includes education. And you're sure not going to do better when you cut another 10% from education.
Mr. Busboom?
This question is for Senator McCarter. Senator McCarter, our state spends millions of dollars on programs statewide that support illegal immigrants. With our budget in such disarray, will you support calls for Arizona-style reforms on illegal immigration here in Illinois?
The answer is yes. I would support the Arizona-type reforms. In fact, I think there's a better way to do that and avoid a lawsuit. And that is create in your budget, very straightforward, through legislation, that no illegals would be allowed benefits in this state. You're talking about up to $1 billion of benefits. One example is the All Kids program, where our own Auditor General said 70% of those kids, of that $80 million program, are illegals. If we have to draw a line between paying our schools and our nursing homes and funding illegals, I say draw the line. Save the money, pay our schools, pay our nursing homes. It's the right thing to do.